All right, boys, in this video, we're going to be covering a topic that is incredibly important for all my new traders out there. And it is one that I feel like does not get talked about enough. A lot of people are constantly focusing on the strategy, on multiple components of trading, on all these different confluences and this and that, but not enough people focus on psychology. And I personally think that it is the biggest component of trading. I personally think that psychology makes up about 80% of trading, and the other 20% is obviously your strategy, right? Now, hopping right into it, I know a lot of you struggle with fear of missing out, fear of being wrong, fear of losing money, and just a lot of different aspects of your trading psychology. Right, so I want to try and address as many of these as I can and try and help you overcome these limiting beliefs, these paradigms that you have instilled in your brain that are limiting you from, getting payouts, passing evals, all this stuff, right? I want to get you to the next level, and I really think that it comes through your psychology. One thing that's not talked about enough is that most of the strategies out there that are, pretty famous are good. They're good strategies. They give you an edge in the market. What it all boils down to is not which strategy is better than the other. It boils down to whose psychology is better, right? And I think that once you master your psychology, you will start to rip payouts like it is nothing, and you are going to question why you never thought like this before, because you would have made so much money from months ago. And I also want to emphasize the fact that, it's not easy. I've been trading for over a year now, and I still have not mastered my psychology. I still fall victim to many of these emotions when it comes to trading, right? So hopping right into it, I want you guys to start adapting this idea into your mind when you hop on the charts. Every trade is unique. There won't be two times where the same amount of buyers and the same amount of sellers are in the market at the same time, ever, right? So what does this mean, right? Let's say, for example, you took your setup 5 times in a row, and all 5 times your trade ran to TP. That 6th time does not mean it's going to run to TP just because the last 5 times it worked out. That 6th time could be the time it runs to your stop loss. And you have to be aware of that, right? Trading is not about certainty. You can't know for sure. You can't be certain about where the market's going to move. No one knows where the market's going to go. You can have an idea of where the market's going to go, and that's going to give you an edge in the market, right? Trading is about probabilities and giving yourself the best edge, the best probability in the market. So you have to start to understand that your strategy only gives you an edge in the market. But when you start to tweak your strategy is when you start to gamble. And that's when you start to lose money, right? And how do you start tweaking your strategy? You start playing with your emotions, right? You start letting your emotions slowly creep into your strategy. Instead of trusting your setup, you go, no, I'm scared. What if it runs to my stop loss right off rip? Right? What if I lose $300? Or it's your 5th time taking the setup, and the last 5 times it's ran to TP, so you over leverage this time. You double down, you triple down, you instead of doing 3 micros, you do a full mini, and this time it runs to stop loss. Now you just lost all the profits and some from the last 5 trades that ran to TP, right? So all these little things are what you have to master when it comes to psychology in order to truly start seeing viable results in your trading, right? So overcoming fear and ego and pride and all these different things are truly crucial to trading. And the best way I could tell people to overcome these emotions is to start thinking like a casino, Now, this is something I learned in a book. It's called Trading in the Zone. And if you haven't read this book before, it's by Mark Douglas. I truly recommend it to every new trader out there. I've read that book about two times now. And every time I read it, I take something new from it. And it's a great book. I recommend it, honestly. So, in Trading in the Zone, it talks about how trading is like being the house, right? Being a casino. So, for example, hypothetically, imagine yourself as the owner of a casino, right? Imagine a player walks in there and loses, let's say, $5,000. They lose $5,000. So now you just made $5,000. You're not going to close the casino down early just because you're up $5,000. No, you know that you have an edge over the player as the owner of the casino. You're going to let it play out, right? And I want you guys to think of this in terms of trading, as a lot of you enter a trade when you're set up forums and you're supposed to have a 2-to-1 R risk to reward ratio with that specific trade. But no, you end up cutting it short at, now you have a negative R, for example. And you have to think in terms of the casino, right? You own the casino. You know you have an edge. So you have to let it play out. Because if you start tampering with that edge, you could bring yourself down from 51%. You could bring yourself down from that edge of 51% to an edge of not having an edge, right? Being at 45%. So you guys have to start thinking like this. Now, think on the reverse side, right? For example, a player comes into your casino and they win $10,000, right? So you as the owner of the casino, you just lost $10,000. You're not going to shut down your casino, bro. You're not going to quit because you know that you have an edge in the market. And just because you lost $10,000 today, does that mean anything? Because over the course of months, over the course of years, that 51% edge is going to prove itself and you are going to make money. You think the owner of a casino is tripping about a loss? No. Why? They have zero emotion regarding that loss. Why? Because they know that over the course of months on end, they are going to be profitable. And you have to start thinking the same way. You have to start putting yourself in these hypothetical scenarios where you know you have an edge in the market. You just have to trust it. You can't let your emotions get to the best of you, because that's when you start gambling, right? You become the player instead of the owner of the casino. And in the market, you have to take your piece of the pie, right? You can't be a gambler. You can't be the player. You have to be the owner of the casino. Now, many of you will ask yourself, like, how do I do this? Like, I try to think this way, but it's still not working, right? I'm still getting this FOMO. I'm still, chasing trades, exiting trades early, this and that. And you truly have to realize that the business model of trading is one of the hardest business models because you are your own boss. There is no one that is going to discipline you unless you discipline yourself, right? And when I was starting out, this is a technique that I used to help discipline myself and stop over trading and stop breaking my rules, right? First of all, you have to have rules. Many of you probably don't even have rules for yourself, right? And when I say rules, I mean in terms of how many trades can I take a day? How much am I risking per trade, right? What time am I trading from? Like, because you might just hop on your computer at fucking midnight because you're bored as fuck and just start looking for trades. Like, no, that's not right, right? So you have to set these rules for yourself. How many trades am I taking per day? How much am I risking per trade? What time frames am I trading? Am I trading Asia? Am I trading New York Open? Am I trading in the macro and only in the macro? This and that, right? You have to set these rules for yourself. I want you guys as homework to write down these rules on a piece of paper. And listen, I'm fucking nobody, right? I have 100 subscribers on this channel. I'm fucking nobody. You could literally click off this video right now and never see my face again. I don't really care. You could do that, or you could, take a chance, listen to me, and you have nothing to lose, right? If anything, this is going to help you, or the only thing you'll lose is 5 minutes of your time writing down your rules, right? I want you guys to write your rules on a piece of paper. And every time you break your rules, I want you guys to literally punish yourself. What do I mean by that? You know what you hate doing the most. For example, for me, what I hate doing the most is running, reading, and writing, right? Those are the 3 things I hate the most. So what I would do when I first started out with trading was, if I broke my rules, I would force myself to, let's say, for example, run a mile, run 2 miles, right? Or I would force myself to sit in a room and read for 30 minutes straight without picking up my phone, without any, without anything, whatever. Or I would force myself to write on a piece of paper 100 times what I did wrong. I overtraded. I overtraded. I overtraded. 100 times. That one was the worst one, and I suggest you guys try that one out. You have to be your own boss. No one's going to discipline you unless you discipline yourself. And if you don't discipline yourself, you're cooked, right? You're just going to keep doing the same mistakes over and over again. It is on you to identify why you are not succeeding in trading and fix it. If you don't fix it, no one will. No one's going to call you out on your bullshit. It's just you. It's just you sitting in front of that computer clicking buy and sell. There's no one watching. So if you don't fix it, no one will. I hope you guys learned something from this video. I know it's kind of all over the place, but if you were able to grab at least a little bits and pieces of information that's going to help you in any way, shape, or form, I will be happy. I would appreciate if you guys liked, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. But more importantly, I pray that God touches your heart. I pray that God gives you the wisdom to start, back testing, to start doing the things that you need to do to succeed in trading, right? God is not going to make your God is not going to make your trade run to TP, but you can pray that God enlightens you with the information needed to start taking the steps in the right place to get to where you want to be, right? So I pray that God does all these things for you. I pray that, you guys have an amazing week, and God bless you guys. I love you all. Peace.